All right, so let's dive into our first class-based view. So the first thing we're going to do is just list out all of our links and see how we can use a class to do just that. So let's go into our views.py file in our link plant app. And here we will create our first view. So we're going to need to import this class from Django. So it will be from Django.views.generics import, and we'll use something called the ListView. And we can see here, we render some list of objects set by self.model or self.querySet. And so we'll basically be rendering some list of objects. And again, this is just a class that we're importing from Django. And then we will also be using our profiles and links. So let's just go ahead and import those now. So we could say from .models, import profile and link. And then we can start creating the view. So what we've been doing so far is creating function-based views. But this time we're going to be creating a class-based view. So we'll say class, and then we can name it whatever we want. We'll just do something that's descriptive. So we're going to be listing out the links. So we'll say link ListView, like so. And we will be inheriting from that ListView class that we imported up top. And so that will give us some of the functionality to list out our links. So if this was a function-based view, what we would do was we would probably query for all the links by doing something like link.objects.all, and then we would want to create some kind of context equals link and assign that to this link.objects.all here, and then we would want to return render and pass in the request and then some kind of template name like link list.html and pass in the context. So that's what we would want to do, and this is a pretty common pattern. You want to query the database for some objects, you want to get them in a context, and then you want to return them in some kind of template. So within Django, they created all this logic and packaged it up into this class. So this ListView class under the hood essentially does just this, but instead of having to type all of this stuff out, we just have to assign what model we want to grab all of the objects from. So all we have to do here is say model equals, and then whatever model we want to list out. So we will list out the links. And by default, it will be looking for a template called model_list.html. So in our case, that will be link_list.html. So we can create a template called this link_list.html, and it will automatically know to render that template. Awesome. So now we just have to hook up the URLs and the template. So if we go into our config project urls.py, we can scroll down to our URL patterns, and next to path, we can import include, and then we can duplicate this path, shift alt down arrow, and make it the empty route. And what we can do here is include the URLs file that we will make in our link plant app. So we could say include, and then link plant.urls, like so, and save that. And now it will know anytime we go to this empty route to look inside linkplant.urls. So now we have to get that set up. So now we have to come down to our link plant app, and we have to create this urls.py file. So we say new file, urls.py. We import the path function. So from django.urls import path. Then we want to import that view we just created. So from .views import list link view. And then we can create our URL patterns variable, assign it to a list, and then add a path and say that the home path will trigger this link list view class. And we can call the name of it equals link dash list. And now there's one last thing we have to do when we're using class-based views with URLs, is right now, this is expecting to get a function here. And so if we look at path, I'm not sure if we can see it here, but it's looking for a view with a response type. And right now, this is just a class. And so we have to use something on top of these classes that Django provides us with called as view. So dot as underscore view. And that will give us a function here that's returning a response that this path function can use and understand. So we can save that. And now let's get our template set up. So if we go back into our link plant app directory and create a new file, and we can just hard code the path. So we can say templates/link plant /link list.html, like so. And again, this is the model underscore list.html. And when we use this ListView class from Django, it knows to look for link underscore list model underscore list.html. So that's why we named that this. And then in here, we can just go ahead and render out our links. So we can just create a unordered list, and then we can loop through this list. And so we didn't specify a context variable to pass in, and by default, it will be called object underscore list. So we could say for link in object list, and then we can end the for. And then in here, we have access to each link that's in this object list. So we can render out a list item, and we can render out link.text. So if we save that and we run our server, Python manage.py run server, and we open this up in a web browser, it should work. Awesome. And now you see our links listed out. So with basically one line of code, just saying model equals links, we were able to get this whole thing set up. And that's why the Django class-based views are powerful. And there's no right or wrong way to develop with Django and to create these views. I know when I was first starting out, I was like, should I use function-based views or class-based views? Class-based views just provide you a shortcut to do some common patterns, and they are customizable. But then there's some instances where you're doing things that aren't so common, and you could just use a function-based view. Perfect. Well, now this was an introduction to the first class-based view of a few more that we'll use. But before we dive into those, let's get a base template set up and add some initial styling to this app so it looks a little bit nicer. So I look forward to it, and I'll see you in the next video.